we'll go ahead and call to order the Longmont Planning and Zoning Commission October 18th, 2023 meeting. First item is roll call.
Chair Poland,
Here.
Commissioner Height, Commissioner Goldberg,
Here.
Commissioner Boone, Commissioner Popkin. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Next is communications from Planning Manager Don Burchett.
Chairman Poland, members of the commission, Don Burchett, filling in tonight for Glenn Van Mugen. Say that too fast. I just wanted to give you an introduction to one of our new planners who is here tonight, sitting in the back. Phil Taylor started with us here this month. This is his third week, and he comes to us by way of working 5 years for Jefferson County Planning and also 3 years up in Telluride. So this, like I said, is his first Planning Commission meeting to observe and kind of see how you guys work through our development applications. So I just wanted to give you an introduction, so hopefully you'll see him in the near future with projects that are coming. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Why, thank you and welcome. Hope to see you soon. Next is public invited to be heard. This is a chance for public to have 5 minutes to talk to us about things that are not on our agenda or not soon to be on our agenda as quasi-judicial items. There is nobody signed up, but we still will open it up if anybody in the public would like to come forward. Seeing nobody, I will go ahead and close public invited to be heard. Next is approval of the minutes from the September 20th, 2023 meeting. Any comments, motions, questions? Commissioner Height.
Everybody has bad names today.
Yeah.
I move to approve the minutes of the, oh my goodness. The last meeting, the September 20th, 2023 meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Without any further questions, Jane, let's go ahead and take a vote.
Commissioner Height, Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
Chair Poland,
Yes.
Commissioner Boone, Commissioner Popkin. Chairman, that passes 4 approvals, 1 abstention.
Thank you very much. Next item is the public hearing item. This is for the West Grange filing for preliminary plat amendment. Staff planner Christine Coates, senior planner, presenting.
Good evening, and thank you, Chairman Pullman and members of the Commission. This evening, for your consideration, I will be sharing a presentation with you regarding the West Grange filing for preliminary plat. As was just introduced, the item before you is a request to consider a subdivision on 13.59 acres of residential mixed neighborhood zone land located south of Nelson Road and east of Mountain Drive. A brief amount of history regarding this property. It was annexed into the city in 2004 as part of the Kubat Archdiocese annexation and zone PUD at that time. It was rezoned to RMN in 2018 as part of the Envision Longmont Comprehensive Plan update. Said property is designated as mixed neighborhood as per the Envision Longmont Comprehensive Plan. Said proposal is to subdivide into 15 lots with 2 outlots with the associated easements and rights-of-way, and will offer a variety of residential products, including single-family detached homes, apartments, condominiums, townhomes, and duplex units. Current surrounding zoning includes primary employment to the north, residential mixed neighborhood to the south, public facilities to the east, and residential single-family to the west. The development aligns with Policy 12E of the Envision Longmont Comprehensive Land Use Plan, mix of housing types, and is compatible with the surrounding properties in that it provides similar uses when considering the previous filings of the West Grange development with comparable lot sizes, setbacks, and architecture. This slide provides a depiction of the proposed subdivision. The lots in question range from 3,435 square feet to 245,710 square feet, with 124,310 square feet in right-of-way dedication, and provides 2 areas for detention which will provide 19,690 square foot in water quality areas. Notification and outreach were completed as per municipal code requirements. A neighborhood meeting was held regarding this application on October 6, 2021. No opposition to this project was expressed at that time. We have not received any public comments with this proposal. This slide details some development considerations taken into account regarding this project. In reviewing the subdivision criteria, the project meets the review criteria established for a preliminary subdivision. This proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan and is compatible with surrounding properties in that it provides similar uses when considering the previous filings of the West Grange development with comparable lot sizes, setbacks, and architecture. The school district has indicated sufficient capacity for additional students. Based on my staff report and the preceding analysis, staff recommends approval of the West Grange filing for a preliminary subdivision plat. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant is present and does have a presentation for you this evening and is available to answer any additional questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. If the applicant can please step forward, let's go ahead and get on with your presentation.
I'm not seeing where you loaded that to, Jane. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joel Weichert. I am a landscape architect with Ripley Design. One moment. And I'm pleased to be here with you this evening to present our preliminary plat application for West Grange Filing 4. I am also happy to present this on behalf of Markel Homes, the applicant and developer of the project. A little bit of background on Markel Homes. They truly are Boulder County's local builder. They've been family owned and operating for the past 50 years. And as you can see on the map on the left, they've been very active. This is a brief breadth of their work in developing communities throughout Boulder County, whether it be from Louisville to Lyons and certainly here in Longmont. Over that time, they've really put a stress on design and developing diverse housing products from single family to multifamily and so on. Additionally, they've also been recognized for their energy efficiency design and their commitment to green building. So that's a little bit about the applicant on this project. As Kristen noted, a little bit of background on the overall West Grange development. This is a project that is almost 20 years in the making now. PUD was, of course, approved in 2008, but not constructed, and Markel Homes became involved in 2012. And over that time, they've submitted applications for design, entitlement, and construction for filings 1, 2, and 3, as you can see there. Also, as Kristen noted, the property was rezoned in 2018 by City Council with the Land Development Code update. I would like to stress this is the final phase of this long-term project, filing 4. It is kind of nestled there right in between filing 3, which has previously been recorded. Silver Creek High School is immediately to the east, and Nelson Road is there to the north. That's a little bit of context for you all. Once again, kind of hitting on the envisioning Longmont future land use and a little bit more context, broad policy document. That kind of framework delineates this area as a mixed residential neighborhood, which is great considering it's zoned RMN. You can also kind of see here that single family detached is further to the south, and we have some public kind of amenities, whether it be the high school or parks and space to the east and to the south. To the north, across the arterial, is a primary employment zoned area, at least according to this framework plan. So that kind of leads us into our project and the filing here that we are presenting tonight. Some of the major design considerations we had as part of this project was integrating our proposed streets and pedestrian circulation systems into the West Grange development, what's already existing, providing a mix of residential types and kind of embracing compact and efficient development. It is also one of the guiding principles in the Envision Longmont document. So with that in mind, looking at a very high-level land use here, we have residential as part of the project. You can see on the yellow on the southern portion of the site here, we're proposing some single-family detached. The orange is single-family attached and multifamily uses. A pocket park is planned to be centrally located. That's in green, kind of on the western side of our site. And then we also have one additional little outlot there on the east side in blue that is intent for stormwater kind of detention and conveyance. Digging into this a little bit more, the mix of residential proposing to kind of get that variety. We will have multifamily, townhomes, duplexes, and single-family detached, and that pocket park. One thing I'd like to note kind of with this diagram is look for the absence of color there. You can kind of see our right-of-way to be dedicated, which is kind of that framework of connecting to the existing framework that's already in place and surrounds our site. Kind of digging into some of the different lot standards and building standards here. The single-family detached is located on the south. There is going to be single-family detached housing in Filing 3 immediately south of our property here. For a little bit of context. So I'm going to run through with each of our kind of proposed products an example with you all. The kind of table on the left kind of talks about lot standards and setbacks, and then the diagram on the right is an example of kind of what does that language kind of start to look like and how does that function on a site here. So our minimum lot area for these single-family detached homes ranges from 3,400 square feet to almost 7,000 square foot. You kind of see that variation largely because of that southwestern corner of the property there, having kind of two lots on a radius of that right of way. We need to provide, lot frontage for people to access their homes in a driveway. And so obviously moving further away from that, you kind of gain some extra square footage. So our minimum lot width, we range from 40 to 55 square feet with this preliminary plat application. Our front yard setbacks are 12 feet to the dwelling unit and 18 feet to the garage entrances. The rear yard setback, we are proposing 12 feet and side yards at 5 feet. And once again, kind of looking at that diagram on the right, this is an example of how this starts to develop and really showcase what is going on here. So you can kind of see, in that right of way, we've got that detached sidewalk with the tree lawn, kind of per, design standards. And we can kind of see how that building envelope kind of fits within that lot. It is compact, it is efficient, but really what that enables is, not a need for a ton of maintenance, right? It's very compact, efficient, and great for people who maybe want to age in place in their home. So just because there's less to maintain. So that's kind of a real benefit to this. An example of some architecture that could kind of fit in a lot like this is the following images. These are just some examples here for some preliminary architecture. We will, of course, refine these and at final application and work through that in the site plan review process. But just some variation to show you some different building materials, colors, accents, and undulation and roof forms as an example of what could be on these single-family detached lots. We also have duplexes located on the property. They're kind of centrally located here in these lots. You're going to see these lot sizes increase in size here in a moment. And really, that's where we kind of get this around 37,000 square foot lots. The way this is proposed is one lot will be platted, and then later the individual units would be like condoed out, for example. So we can have multiple residential buildings on one lot. And that, once again, enables ease of maintenance. Maybe it's done under HOA. That is kind of done later down the line. in keeping with the kind of architectural character, as the single-family detached lots, we're proposing a 12-foot front yard setback, minimum 18 foot to the garage, 12 foot for the rear, and 5 foot side yard setbacks. So once again, you're kind of starting to see in this diagram on the right, like how that actually functions and looks in form. And again, here is some example architecture of what would be able to fit in these proposed lots and kind of the different styles. So, once again, we're seeing various roof forms, whether it's a butterfly or gable roof, different building materials. We can do some really high quality design in this. The other aspect I'd like to kind of point out with this is because the architecture is fronting the public right-of-way, it really creates a pedestrian-friendly environment, right? We have that detached walk for people to walk along, and then we've got architecture that is engaging close to where pedestrians are walking. So that's another consideration that we made with our design choices. Townhomes on the project, we have some located along the east side of the property and centrally located right adjacent to that pocket park. Kind of the nice idea with some townhomes along that pocket park is we could have some front door entrances opening up to the park, which would be really nice to kind of really ground that park space. And kind of getting into some lot standards again, they are some larger lots. That minimum lot width is around 130 feet, just because of the size of the lots and the platting of one lot and condoing out the units. Front yard setback remains consistent with 12-foot front and rear yards with 5-foot side yards. And once again, we kind of have this consistent architectural and pedestrian feeling fronting all public rights of way throughout the project. And again, here's some more architecture kind of showing examples of products that could fit within these proposed lots that we're presenting to you this evening. So once again, more variation. This is architecture that we will refine as we move into the final application and site plan process, but just an example to kind of let you all have a little flavor of what we are thinking. Finally, multifamily. We have 2 multifamily lots on the site. One to the north is quite a bit larger than the one to the southeast. The larger one, being larger in size, having more units, it is immediately adjacent to Nelson Road, which is an arterial in the site. And then the one to the southeast is much smaller in size, roughly about 1/10 the size of the other one, and far fewer units. With this larger lot, we have plenty of space for our setbacks. You'll see a little bit of variation here with a 15-foot front yard and rear yard setback. And then that 10-foot you will see kind of on that southeast corner adjacent to the outlot intended for detention, gets a little bit wider at 10 feet as well. And again, here's a little bit of architecture to show some possibilities of what we could put in these spaces. Connectivity, I mentioned very early on that it was a big deal for us to connect to the street system. That was approved with the PUD many years ago, and then also just good land planning practices of really being in line with Granville Avenue and Wheaton Avenue, where there's curb cuts that were already established with the previous filings and portions of our project. And not only vehicle connectivity, but we should also talk about pedestrian connectivity here, because that is a critical piece of any project. The red dashed lines you were seeing kind of overlaid on there, those are all kind of the walkways that we are anticipating with this project. They include both the detached walks as part of the right-of-way system and the street system that we've designed, and then also the sidewalks and connection points on our platted lots and outlots as well. So the intent is, regardless if you're living in a single-family lot to the south or a multifamily unit to the north, you can still access the pocket park all the same and head to your friend's house down on Granville, further west in Filing 3. You'll also notice the blue little rectangles are areas we are anticipating for a public street crossing, like a crosswalk or some sort of enhanced paving to kind of create some safe crossings for people. Also, you'll see the orange lines off-site as there are existing bike lanes on Mountain Drive and Nelson Road. So our project will, once again, is kind of the last piece of this grander project and is kind of fitting into the existing infrastructure and matching what's already been approved throughout the process. So in summary, West Grange Filing 4 integrates our proposed circulation system with the existing circulation, both vehicular and pedestrian. Offsite, we are going to provide a variety of residential housing types, and our project is really embracing compact and efficient development as the Envision Longmont plan has as a guiding principle and kind of suggests. So with that in mind, we're happy to answer your questions. We have Jason and Michael Markel here from Markel Homes, Sam Coots from Ripley Design, and Mark Dolzal from MPD Engineering. It's our project team, so if you have any questions, we can answer them for you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Since this is a public hearing item, we will first go ahead, open it up for public invited to be heard on this item. There's nobody on the sign-up sheet. Once again, we will open up to the public if somebody would like to step forward. Seeing nobody in public here, I'll go ahead and close the public invited to be heard, and we will move to questions, comments, motions from the commission. Commissioner Height.
Thank you. Planner Coat and/or Don, the public hearing or public notice for hearing went out 2 years ago. Is that too long ago?
The public notice that went out 2 years ago would have been for the site plan under review. For this public hearing, the notice went out on October 4th.
Okay, but the site plan review
Or the-
2 years ago, it's the question about the
it
proposal
is-
to change filing 4 to this iteration was 2 years ago?
The project was submitted to the city 2 years ago and began the DRC process. So that was the site, or that was the application under review notice that was sent.
Okay. Is that timely? Is that effective?
Commissioner Height, members of the commission, so the construction of the adjacent filing was going on, filing 3 during that time, but the signs for the under review would still have been on the property. So those folks that were moving into the subdivision or buying property within filing 3 would have had a visual notice of the sign that we post for under development review for them to see. So I think it also speaks a little bit that with the notice of public hearing, we haven't gotten any comments or any responses to those that have been timely. We also reposted it with the public hearing signs for this meeting. It was also in the paper and published, through our normal online stuff. So from my standpoint, we've met all the code requirements for the posting. And, there has been times in the past where we have tried to give people warning previous to the hearings. But that's really kind of a rarity when we do that. And it's probably when they've been probably in that general time frame. But again, with the postings that were there, the new postings that went up, and then the mailings that went out, I feel as though we've met the obligations for notice.
Appreciate that. I also appreciate that it's somewhat of a major, well, I don't know if it's a rewrite, but it's a modification. I think it's an excellent modification, but that's my personal opinion. Other people's personal opinions, I would have expected to hear more from, and there's nobody saying anything, which is why I'm asking, is our notice sufficient? All right, that said, the next question is really a kind of a non-issue. The road naming, I think it's Wheaton and Granville. Wheaton Avenue comes across, stays Wheaton Avenue, then turns into, I first originally thought it was just gonna be Wheaton as it goes into a circle, but now it's called Wheaton Circle. And then Granville goes across. Wheaton Circle from Wheaton Avenue, is that sufficient, not likely to cause confusion? It just seemed like Wheaton, as I originally read it, was just Wheaton that went around in a comma. And I don't know how people would find their way around Wheaton. If it's Wheaton Circle, maybe it's better.
So when we get to final plat, that's when our naming conventions are checked by, not only by our public safety folks, but the people that work with us on addressing. So at that time, if there is some conflict with the municipal code requirements for how we name our streets, because there is a section in the municipal code that talks about how we name our streets in the city of Longmont, then that would be corrected at the final plat.
Okay, thanks.
But typically, I can tell you that when a road does come from one street to another, it is typically called a circle. Not always, I can guarantee you that.
I can
but
appreciate that it's
typically
called Circle, but
Yeah.
just that it had the same name as Wheaton Avenue turns into Wheaton Circle can be confusing.
Yes, I totally understand what you're saying.
And then finally, the last issue I had was the traffic. I think there was a 2012 traffic study that had been re-reviewed and indicated that a new traffic study had to be done. What I was unsure of is what that new traffic study showed, other than possibly 3 turn lanes were required to get off of Mountain Avenue onto Nelson. I'm not sure I understood that. Could that be explained?
I do know that the transportation study is being requested to be updated due to the 20% increase, and that is a requirement of the city. We do have our transportation engineer, Caroline Michaels, here, who could address those questions if you would like her to.
Well, let me ask more broadly. There's a traffic study that's to be done?
There is a updated traffic study that will be submitted with the final plat.
Okay.
Due to the reconfiguration of the filings.
Okay, and that's something we will wait to see, or DRC will review at
Correct.
final plat.
DRC will review
It's not in
that.
front of us tonight.
Correct.
Then I don't need to bother the traffic engineer further. With that, I kind of like this project, and I'm done talking.
Commissioner Boone.
Thank you, Chair Poland. I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions, and I guess most of them are directed to Kristen. I too was wondering about the notice of the neighborhood. I'm really confused that there are no public here tonight, because based on many of the other subdivisions that we've seen, there's always a lot of public. I just happen to drive up and down Nelson Road all the time, and there is not a sign posted on Nelson Road. The only sign that's posted is on Mountain, the other road, Mountain Drive, which, that's kind of a road that almost goes to nowhere right now. It kind of goes into part of Filing 3. So, and back in 2021, those West Grain houses didn't exist. So I'm just wondering if the notice was sufficient. But, you know, that is not for me to determine, but I just wanted to get that on record.
So, sorry to interrupt, but
Yep.
Chair Poland, since the question was raised by the commission, you've got to go now through the process of determining whether or not it was. So you've got to stop now and do that.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now have to go ahead and determine if there was sufficient notice with this filing. I'm trying to see which attachment.
I didn't see a notice.
Kristen, do we have an attachment information regarding the filing regarding the notices when they were submitted, and also when and where we had postings?
There is not an attachment that depicts that, Chairman. I do have that with me. If you would like to, I can definitely bring that up if you would like to see that.
Please.
All right.
Sure. Let's see if I can go ahead. Oh, wrong person.
There we go. Thank you. Just a clarification question while we're doing this. In terms of the requirement, Don, Kristen, Jeremy, in terms of clarifying the requirements that have to be met for notice, I guess my first question is there a date of is there an expiration date that applies here? Is there a reasonableness standard that applies here? Or is there a physical and mailed notice standard that applies here? Is it all of those, some different thing that I butchered there? What are we actually, now kind of taking a tangent to discuss?
Chairman Poland, Commissioner Popkin, I'm trying to pull up the specific section so I can read that to you. Did you find it? 150203J. Read it? Since you got it.
No, I had to quickly Control F to find it. I had it previously because I knew the question has been raised before.
Okay, there's a lot of addresses there. We normally get this as part of our packet, and we didn't
Correct.
this time.
So what you are seeing before you is a certificate of mailing, which
Actually,
indicates.
first, Kristen, can we hear what the qualifications are that the city and the applicant have to meet as far as postings and mailings?
Right, so it is I'll summarize, and if you want additional information, just ask. Because it's a major development application, a preliminary plat requires notice of 1,000 feet from the property boundary. It requires that we have a neighborhood meeting, that we have an notice of application, and then notice of public hearing, okay? There is no time requirements or time out. In other words, like there's no expiration date called out of that. If we've done a notice 4 years ago, that has to be redone. There's nothing in our code that says we have to do that. We have time frames for when we're supposed to do it, how soon before the meetings we're supposed to do it. So for example, the public hearing has to be 14 days before this meeting. It has to be mailed, signed, posted, and then the newspaper is also covered as well. So those are, in general, just quickly, the 3 items that we have to do. And then we have the certifications that Kristen's got for those. And then from the standpoint of what the planning commission needs to do once it is questioned, then we go to adequacy of notice 8.
I can take over that last part. So after adequacy of notice is questioned into hearing the application, the review or decision-making body, which is planning and zoning in this case, shall make a formal finding regarding whether was a substantial compliance with the notice requirements of the development code before proceeding with the hearing. And to Commissioner Boone's question concerning signage requirements, that be on waterproof signs that be placed on the property that is subject to the application or the adjacent right-of-way, placed along each abutting improved public street in a manner that makes them clearly visible to neighboring residents and passerbys, with at least one sign posted on each street frontage, in place during the period leading up to the decision-making body's final action, and shall state the type of notice and provide a statement that additional information is available by calling the city. Happy to reread that if I read that too quickly.
Now, is it the applicant or the city that places those signs?
Traditionally, it is the applicant, is my understanding.
Do we have, I guess, I'll let you go first with your questions. You're on.
I'm off right now.
No, you're on. You're on.
Okay. Well, my question about written notice, I think, was cleared up. That's something that's normally in our packet, and it wasn't in our packet. I still have the question about the signage. But I do have some other questions. Can I proceed or not?
No, we have to handle this first. I guess my question for signage is, was there a sign posted along Nelson Road? Because as that was read to me, there should have been a posting along Nelson Road. I believe I'm confident that I've heard that there was a posting along Mountain Drive.
Yeah, there is one there.
My question is there, and do we have proof of a posting along Mountain Drive? Or sorry, along Nelson Road?
Thank you for your question. The applicant did post the site as per code standards. We do have that certificate of posting. It is not currently opening on this computer. I can certainly get, I believe the applicant also would have his certificate of posting that we could show you that staff reviewed it and it meets the requirements of code. Would you like for?
Please.
Oh, right.
Awesome.
For all we know, someone could have pulled it out. It could have blown over. There's lots of things that can happen to a sign. I was more concerned about the mailing, and that's been cleared up. And there is one sign there,
At least.
at least.
I did find the certificate of sign posting that is a good file in our Acela program, so I will load that to my USB and let you look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I have them. Yeah. Thank you for your patience. We are now looking at the certificate of posting of the property. And it would show signage on Mountain Drive and Nelson Road frontage.
So those were the ones from 2021,
Yep.
not those are the white ones, not the yellow ones for tonight.
All right, what you are viewing now is the posting and the pictures for the public hearing. That would be the first view. Here we are on view 2. And we have the certificate of posting,
Can you go back to the first photo?
certainly.
Yeah, that one's not there, so it must have got hit down or something. The other one is there. Yeah, the prairie dogs came and got it. So I don't know what else to say about that.
It was
It was posted, the mailing was made, the sign's not there now.
Okay, so at this
And we
point-
have no public here.
At this point, what we need to do next is take a vote to see if we agree that the requirement of notice has been met, correct, Jeremy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it'll be a vote regarding whether there was substantial compliance with the notice requirements.
Can you explain substantial?
Substantial is slightly less than, strict compliance. So strict compliance would be that to the T, everything was done. Substantial compliance might mean that a sign was posted and fell down. It might mean similar things. Something got lost in the mail.
Okay, so do we have to make a motion for this then?
What I would recommend is the commission make a motion and adopt the motion. And then I believe in the resolution, one of the findings is that notice was made. So the motion would carry over into the resolution, either A, B, or C, whatever the commission decides to adopt, if any.
Okay. I will go ahead, I will move that we find as a commission that the notice of the meetings meet the substantial burden of proof. Do we have a second? Commissioner Goldberg? Yes, no?
Sure.
So,
What, I have a second, I'm happy to second it, but I do have a question, procedural question.
okay.
Okay, cool. So I'm happy to second it. I just wanted to clarify, Jeremy, what we're about to vote on is whether we think the applicant met the signage burden, met the burden for signing the neighborhood via the three different approaches, the mailing, the public, the mailing, the posting, and was there a third one maybe? Newspaper, thank you. I personally, a little similar to my fellow Commissioner Height, have questions about what the public knew or what they thought was going to be reviewed today, or what is before us. I have questions about that. I don't have any questions about whether the postings were met. Is it appropriate to proceed with making the vote on whether we think this postings met the burden and then discuss further about whether the public knew what's actually going down or not?
Thank you, Commissioner Goldberg, for an excellent question. I believe that would be appropriate considering the motion is considering notice requirements.
Okay.
It doesn't concern what public may or may not have known concerning the project. So in terms of notice requirements, it's not whether or not anyone knew. It's a matter of did they follow the correct steps in terms of posting the property, mailing to the neighboring residents, and posting the newspaper.
Cool. Well, then with that, I'm happy to second it and release it to the rest of the commission.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any discussion? If not, Jane, let's take a vote.
Commissioner Height? Commissioner Goldberg?
Yes.
Chair Poland?
Yes,
Commissioner Boone?
Yes.
Commissioner Popkin? Chairman, that passes 5-0.
very good. Now that will go into the,
Yeah, it'll be in the resolutions
Resolution.
under section 1.4 of the resolution in Form 10A, 10B, or 10C.
let's see, very good, thank you. So now we can proceed. Okay, Commissioner Boone, you're back up.
Thank you, Chair. So I think I have questions both for Kristen and for the applicant, just on some consistencies with the materials that we got in our packet. The way I understand it, there's 284 total units now being proposed. The original project had 177 units. So that's over 100 units more. Some of the items in our packet had to do with old unit counts. I think the traffic one, which would be the most impacted, was a little more up to date, but like the school impact had less, and the calculation for the cash in lieu for the developer had less units. So if nothing else, it seems like those need to be updated. So that was just a comment. I understand it's 284 now, but just want to point out that that's over 100 more units than there were originally. And I don't want to give the wrong impression. I actually like this project, so I'll just continue. Another thing that I couldn't find was, there was mention of 8 accessory dwelling units, and I didn't see those ADUs anywhere on the plan. We've got 10 single-family homes. Usually the ADUs go with the single-family homes, but I was confused because they weren't pointed out anywhere. So maybe that's a question for the applicant. I don't know, maybe that's for you.
I think I can address that if you would like me to right now.
Okay?
The original plan did have ADU units proposed to be built as part of the development. And during the development, that theory or thought process changed to, because this is an RMN district, the individual lot owners could propose ADUs on the residential single family, and that would be at their discretion to construct. So that would be why you wouldn't see them on there. It would be a choice of the property owner if they could meet our ADU standards.
Okay, so the count of 8 ADUs that's on the first page describing it are optional.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And why would it just be on 8 of them and not on all 10 of them? But that's probably too detailed for this. Then my other question, and this is for the developer somewhere here in the text, well, a couple of other things. When you were describing filings 1, 2, and 3, and there were numbers of units noted, there's a little a table for 1, 2, and 3, and the year approved and the number of units. Filing 3 in that northwest corner has single-family homes, but they also have townhouses, they also have fourplexes, and those weren't noted in our materials, so that's just inconsistent. They're existing, so it's kind of a moot point. But if we're looking at another parcel that's got multifamily in it, it would be nice for everyone to know that there's already a parcel that has multifamily in it. And that wasn't noted here. And then just one other question I had, somewhere here in the text, it says that the developer will be actively working with the private sector to promote and potentially incent the construction of housing types, ... I'm assuming that that means that the developer is looking to possibly sell off the apartment piece. Not that that would change my vote, but I'm just, would like to be clear as to if that's the intent.
Hi, my name's Jason Markel, Markel Homes. Yeah, wanted to answer your questions, Commissioner Boone. As far as, filing 3, that is all single-family homes. Some of the multifam we have in filing 2, so I'm not exactly sure on the staff report, if that was clear or not, but filing 3 is all single families, and then...
I misspoke, filing 2, it's at
Yeah.
northwest corner.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and so that has some multifam in it. And filing 3 is single fam, and then filing 4 has been our, higher density, parcel. And so your next question, as far as, now I'm forgetting your question. What was your last question?
Oh, if the apartments are intended to be sold off?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Probably too early to.
Yeah, it's a little too early to tell. We are trying to have some income properties, and so that was, our intention, but, we do want to keep that obviously open and kind of up to market conditions, but that's why we sort of hold our design standards to a high standard.
Okay, well, that answers my questions.
Okay,
And I like the project.
thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Popkin.
Thank you, Chair. A few clarification questions that I had, and then a few substantive questions. I may not do them all right at once. You can take a seat for a moment. I just need to think about the order. I guess first to Kristen. Thank you for clarifying some of the signage stuff before. I just had one clarifying question on the notification. Is the requirement within a 1,000-foot radius of the subject property? Is that the requirement?
For this application type,
Yes.
yes, it is.
Yes, thank you. And so then within that radius, I mean, if my memory serves me, though I want to go off of folks who are familiar with the surrounding properties, how many of the third filing area are constructed and moved in? Approximately, are they all fully built and generally operate?
I don't believe so, but that would probably be a better question for
Great,
the developer.
then I'll welcome you back.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to understand, because and to the north side of the property, there really aren't, it's like a business, like a corporation and a parking lot there. The east side is a school, a high school, and then the south side is a wonderful park area. So then really, all that we're considering for the notification is the residential units to the west side, to the extent that they are lived in, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, and I think that's why, it's, not a ton of residential surrounding the site, so, but in filing 3, I don't have exact numbers, just because we have, contracts
Sure.
getting written right now, but I would say there's probably, maybe, 12 residences, maybe, in filing 3 right now.
That are actively lived in?
Yeah, that would be actively lived in.
And how many,
somewhere around.
approximately how many total units are there? Sorry, I wasn't on the commission when this came through.
Yeah, I think we have it broken up into like phase 3A and B, and phase 3A, I believe, is 57, or no, I think it's a little more. 'Cause-
Would it be fair to say
yeah, 90. It's around 90.
90
yeah.
total units,
Yeah.
only 12 of which are
Yeah, so it's
considered lived
we
in
just
right
got construction acceptance.
Congratulations.
Last year. So
Yes.
yeah, it's kind of a work in progress.
So then I guess I'm just trying to tease out with my fellow commissioners here. It sounds like there isn't a lot of immediate residential units that would have been notified anyway,
yeah.
assuming everything was by the book. And so I guess just full transparency, cards on the table, I don't have any concerns with the lack of a Taylor Swift crowd audience tonight. It seems like that doesn't gel with that would be if there were 70 people, I'd almost have concerns as to how they were notified. So would gladly welcome them all, but that would seem almost the opposite. So thank you for clarifying
Yeah,
that,
you're
just in
welcome.
terms of context.
Thank you.
You can, I think actually, you might as well stay up for a second. One of the things that I appreciated about both your presentation and Kristen's was just the alignment of the changes that you're making with Envision Longmont and the increase in housing diversity and types of housing here. I think that's really fantastic. I think I echo a lot of the general sentiments of my fellow commissioners. I have a process question, and maybe, you don't have to get into the formula here, but I'd love to know, just when you were thinking of this adjustment, how did your team go about thinking about what types of units to increase, to kind of change up? How did you guys work through that thought process here? Because Longmont, like many areas in the Front Range, is rapidly growing, and you guys seem to be very comfortable operating on the Front Range here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, we are sort of all about sort of attainable workforce housing, and in order to sort of hit some of those metrics, we needed to sort of push some density,
And then we wanted to have sort of a diversity of product, whether it was, apartments, condos, duplexes, townhomes, and single family. And so, with restricting obviously some of the lot sizes and sort of the compactness of things, it gives that market rate attainability. And so, I think that's sort of driving a lot of our new subdivisions because we see the housing crisis, on the Front Range and especially in Boulder County. And so, to sort of address that, we obviously, we're doing affordable housing, we're doing attainable housing, we're doing workforce housing, we're doing, condos, we're doing apartments, but that sort of mindset, I feel like, is sort of where we're coming at a lot of our newer subdivisions, and kind of increasing that density and starting to naturally through platting and product selection, get that market rate attainability.
That's great. Thank you. Following on Commissioner Boone's line of questioning with regard to the accessory dwelling units or ADUs, I think Kristen's explanation was sufficient in terms of understanding the change. I'm curious from kind of your perspective as the applicant developer, clearly with a lot of experience here, how do you weigh the affordability question of, to one degree, adding more ADUs offers a very different type of housing unit that people can rent out. It provides income for the property owner as well as perhaps a different type of market option for housing versus but it increases the property cost up front, right? And so then on the other side, when you don't have the ADU, it decreases the property cost for the individual who's owning the property up front, but it doesn't provide that other housing type. So just how do you weigh the affordability piece when you're thinking about ADUs?
Yeah, and we have some experience with this with Prospect, and so Prospect, which is resides in the city, we built out that whole fourth filing, most of it, and so that had a lot of ADUs associated with it, and so we had a lot of experience building those ADUs, and that was sort of a lot of single family ADUs, and so with this we had some sort of more compact, more efficient spaces, and we were thinking, as underwriting goes, if you could underwrite a unit and doing sort of the math as a homeowner, and you can say, okay, I'm here with my mortgage, and if I could get a renter, that would put me in this neighborhood. I think that mental sort of math and that underwriting enables people to maybe feel more comfortable getting into a maybe not like a move up product, but just a first time home buyer enables them to actually make that jump and get into something they might otherwise not be able to afford, because I think once you factor in the rent, it outweighs the more expensive basis in there.
Got it. And so your decision there was, let's leave that up to the individual and not build anything on the site currently as an ADU here? I'm just following the...
No, I think it will probably be, us building that as a spec unit and then, selling it as a ADU,
Okay, so currently your
outfitted
lean is
with.
towards including the ADUs. It's just not guaranteed that will necessarily...
Yeah, and we are leaning towards building the ADUs.
Great, thank you. This fits very much neatly within the RMN, the residential mixed neighborhood part of Envision Longmont. That's great. There's a secondary set of uses which ADUs fall under for RMN zoning, and I'm curious. Some of the other secondary uses for those less familiar with this RMN zoning include small scale retail, restaurants, cafes, community gardens. Public parks, obviously there's a massive park right to the south of this property, so less concerned about that, and you're including a pocket park already. In terms of like small scale retail or some restaurants and cafes, there's a lot of housing in this region, increasingly so, thanks to your team largely, and if I recall correctly, the nearby kind of shopping center is kind of on the other side of Airport Road. And so I'm just curious if you gave any thought to, or to what degree you were thinking about whether it made sense to include any kind of small scale commercial or retail space in this.
Yeah, we, look into, commercial right now, obviously, I think it's fortuitous that we actually don't have it because, commercial right now is not doing so well. So we have some experience in other neighborhoods that, sort of that pocket commercial doesn't have the foot traffic to succeed. And so we've seen that in a couple other, neighborhoods that we've done where it struggles a little bit to gain traction in when you have just sort of a, when you have sort of a very local kind of niche market of, passerbys within a development. If it's on sort of a more, arterial or collector street and has, probably more broader implications with, 5 or 6 different neighborhoods surrounding it, it increases the chances for success. But we just don't see that much success when we do it in a very small kind of inner workings of a neighborhood.
Got it. Even with the change in density, you're kind of shifting towards
That's
gets close.
It's a kind of a, little bit of a gut call, but yeah.
And
I think
that's
sort of
certainly
our
your call. I'm just
analysis.
curious as to your thought process there.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Good. I just have one more clarification question for Kristen, and then I'll pause. Kristen, I noticed in the Planning Commission communication form, on page 1, it talks about this plat amendment consisting of 14 lots and 2 outlots, and then on page 3, I think it mentions 15 lots and 2 outlots. I was just curious if which one's accurate, or are they both referring to different things?
No, that was a typo.
Okay.
Let verify, I believe it is 15 lots. Let me verify that quickly. But that was just a typographical error.
Not a concern, just wanted to understand the project.
Certainly.
Thank you. I will reserve my time. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I hand it over to Commissioner Goldberg, Don, I believe you might be able to help us with this question. I don't know if it was filing 2 or filing 3, but this is in regards to the commercial component that you were questioning about. It was either filing 2 or filing 3. They actually came to us and asked for an amendment to change and remove the commercial component, correct?
Chairman Pollan, you have a good memory. Yes, there used to be a commercial component at let's see, my roads are going to be off here in 75th and Nelson. Yeah, on the southeast corner. And then that was brought before the commission and the city council and removed.
Okay, I just wanted to make note of that.
Yep.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Thanks, Chairman. I don't have too much. The commission's done all the work. Appreciate it. Man, I like a lot of this project before us. I like the staging or stepping in density, moving kind of from south to north with multifamily to duplexes, and then eventually, single families to duplexes, and then multifamily. I think that's a real nice. Creates a nice kind of staging or stepping area. I think the examples of architecture that were shared, while I respect their examples, they were attractive, and I could see them fitting into that neighborhood. I appreciate the thoughtful design, the interest in ground level park access and things like that. I thought those were nice touches. I like the commitment to walkability. I wish Commissioner Flagg was here. She would be tickled to see all the little red dashes that went through that map, showing the sidewalks and pedestrian paths. That's a big concern of hers, and I think the applicant did a good job providing that. I go back to just this one question that I want to make sure we're just being 100% transparent on, and totally forthright with the public, and that is, what did we communicate to the public, and what are they under the impression that is coming before us versus what is really here before us? My concern lies in what we heard before, the 177 units versus 284 units today. I wrote this down in the middle of the video. How does the project differ from what was proposed during the 2021 neighborhood meetings and notifications? So if I can just be given the comfort that what has been put in front of those neighbors, albeit few of them, as Commissioner Popkin identified, I just need some assurance to know that we gave the public of their full chance to understand that this project has changed a bit over the years, and now it involves more units. So, Kristen?
Certainly. When their notice was sent out, they were notified that it was a preliminary plat that was going before the Planning Commission for consideration this evening.
And what date was that?
That would be the 10-4 mailing for the public hearing.
Just 2 weeks ago.
Just 2 weeks ago. Yep, it does meet the guidelines for posting, but mailing, but it did go out on the 14th.
And what exactly went out? You said that there was a preliminary plat, up for discussion, but
Sure, and I can certainly show you that.
I don't need to see it.
Oh.
We can talk through it.
Sure, let me just pull that up. So the notice was sent that the applicant seeks to subdivide the remainder of the unplatted West Grange filing number 3 into the proposed West Grange filing number 4. The proposed preliminary plat consists of 14 lots and 2 outlots offering a variety of residential types. Because this is a preliminary plat and not a site plan review, we would not go into the kinds of residential products in the notice, but that would definitely be something available for any member of the public to view or discuss at any point that they wanted to. We talk about the location, the acreage, the existing use of the land, which is vacant land, the zoning, the property owner, then we do go into talking about the surrounding land uses and zonings. And then it just is the standard verbiage about comp plan amendment specifications. We touch on that and indicate what the comp plan indicates for this area. And then it's any person having an interest in the above proceeding is invited to present and speak at the public hearing. If unable to attend, submit written comments. It goes into the location of the meeting and where to submit comments to. And then it gives information to contact the city if you're unfamiliar with how these public hearing works. And then it gives the applicant's contact information and my name, email address, and phone number for contact.
Great. And that was mailed to the units within that 1,000-foot radius?
Correct, and I did count on the certificate of
Sure.
mailing, and there were a couple of notices that would have went to
Sure.
similar property owners, but there's approximately 58 notices mailed.
Okay. And that similar information was shared on the physical postings and in the publication in the Times Call?
Correct.
Okay, cool. When did this go from 177 units to 284?
It would be based on the reconfiguration of the filings so overall, their density meets the original densities proposed with this development area.
I see.
But they reconfigured how their filings were laid out.
Okay.
So that would be the reason why this looks a little bit different than what you might have anticipated based on the original configuration, because this is filing 4 is what you're considering, but in the original design, it was actually phase 5 and part of phase 6. So that would be the reason why you see that discrepancy.
Okay. And did the concept with 177 units have any, was it uniquely widely distributed or uniquely publicized? Was that perhaps more visible to any existing folks in the neighborhood then that wouldn't have it be where the new project wouldn't be more public, the new format?
The applicant might be better to address that, but when the concept plan was developed, there was not really development
Totally.
per se in this
Definitely.
area, so it would be hard for me to address that, or maybe Mr. Burchett could talk about that in more depth.
Okay, I see a hand being raised, and I see Don reaching for a mic. I'll take both.
Chairman Poland, Commissioner Goldberg, just a couple things, and then I'll let the group, development group talk. So from the city standpoint, if someone were to have called us about that vacant property, wanting to find out what was going to happen, we would have done 2 things. First is we would have researched to see what was approved, okay? The second thing that we would do is we publish, and it's at this point in time, it's weekly, and our active development log and map that's up on the city website, that if anybody goes out there and looks, it'll show what developments are under review. So if anyone would have called us who had seen that, either through the notices, the signs, or just on the website themselves, doing their own research, due diligence, they would have seen that this was under development review, and then we would have transferred that over to Kristen, or before Kristen took this over, it was Ayana, and before Ayana, it was Ava. So we've had some transition here for over 2 years. But they would have explained to them the difference from what was originally approved and what was being reviewed.
Sure.
But we would also let them know that there's not a guarantee that this group or any other property owner that starts our process would finish.
Totally.
We would let them know what was approved. Now, I would argue that's no more visible or evident to the
Publicized.
general public or
Yeah.
publicized than anything else. But I think it's probably more publicized in what we do for our developments under review than those that are approved.
Okay.
And what I can't speak to, and what I'm hopeful that Markel can speak to, is because we don't have Ava here, what was presented in that neighborhood meeting, was it for the development we have tonight, or was it for a different development?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'd love to hear the answer to that question.
Good evening. Michael Markel.
Thank you, Michael.
And I reside, my office is at Arapahoe Avenue in Boulder. You know, one thing that I wanted to mention, that there's the public side, to all this disclosure. And then at my company, we run all our homeowners associations internally, to ourselves.
Sure.
And of course, West Grange,
Yes.
we still have the management responsibility, for all the citizens, that live in West Grange. What we always do is we always give a report, at least once a year, to all the residents, and I actually make presentations, to all the residents, that are meeting within a homeowner association, which in this area can be considerable. And we answer all the questions. We also, there's a sort of update from the developer is what we call it. And we talk about, where everything's headed, within the neighborhood and the community.
Sure.
And so we either show them maps, we show them different types of products that we want to bring up.
Sure.
And then not only do we do that through our association, we also, of course, and a lot of people always stop by, at our sales centers. We have different, graphics that we use to show, multifamily, different phases.
Yes.
And a lot of time it's not every specific lot because we're still thinking about it. But when they ask us, when people move into the area, one of the things they always ask is, what's the future of West Grange, and what does it look like? So my salespeople are required, to tell people exactly, what we're going to be doing. So we've been doing, of course, we've been there for over 10 years, so that's, a lot of conversations, a lot of people to talk to. But I haven't had any objections, from any of the homeowners, in that area with what we're presenting to do.
Yes.
And there doesn't seem to be any, resistance, to, having a wide variety of different products and, being able to build, things that are more workforce obtainable and plus I think one thing, we're going to be building some affordable, units on site, at that location. So there's the private side.
Yes.
And the public side. So we feel like we've been taking our responsibilities very seriously in when we manage an association and on the sales side also. Full disclosure.
Great.
No reason at my age, why would you try to tell people something that wasn't true? You're just always going to be very forthright and very honest.
I appreciate you going above and beyond. Back to Don's question about what was presented during the neighborhood meeting.
My recollection on it, was that, there was a plan and a conversation, about increasing the number of units. But I do not have, the exact, numbers and the exact emails or I don't have anything handy, and I'd have to go back in my files, at my office, to find that out. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, if you'd like to come up and talk
Thank
about
you.
that, yeah.
Kind of going back to that neighborhood meeting, I wasn't at that neighborhood meeting, but luckily the meetings are recorded and are on YouTube, so I watched that just a couple weeks ago. The primary difference from that meeting, what was presented, to what tonight, there's more single-family detached proposed at that application, and I believe there was a little section of kind of like micro homes also proposed through the development review process and engineering and planning. That plan obviously has progressed as we receive feedback and kind of revised our plans, that iterative nature of design, to get to the plan for you today. I don't have an exact number for units off the top of my head,
Sure.
but that would be the primary difference from what you saw. The general layout and composition remains, but that would be the change.
Okay, cool. Well, listen, I've already shared my opinions about the project with the commission and with the public. I remain favorable to it for the reasons I listed earlier. I'm just trying to prevent that member of the public who reads the article next week in the Times Call about, you know, how we just approved your project, and they say, and they see the difference in number and they go, what? You know, I got duped. I wasn't informed. How come I didn't know? I was told 177 2 years ago, and now there's 100 more. I recognize that there was very few homes within 1,000 feet then, and you know, and not occupied, and we're talking about 54 potential families. But I just want to make sure that we're coming off as being as transparent and as open and honest with the public, and you know, may we never go down a rabbit hole where we're approving something and that it can even have the veil of being, of duping the public, you know, and that remains important to me. I recognize that these plans are always plans, and they will continue to change until we get to literally pushing the dirt. So with that, yeah, I don't have any more questions. I'll be favorable to it and yield the mic.
Okay, I do have two questions. Maybe Jason for the first question. Can you? Or sorry, or Joel. And this is just for my curiosity. There are 2 points of ingress and egress, the Wheaton Avenue and the Granville Avenue. They both go out to Grandview Avenue, I guess that's what that is, if I remember right.
The north-south
Yeah.
road, Mountain Drive.
Mountain Drive. Was it ever considered to do an access out straight to Nelson? Is there a reason why that couldn't be done?
I'll repeat that, but the intersection spacing along.
So there wasn't enough room for it to click. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to clear that up in my head. Also, I have a question, I think maybe for Kristen. In the diagram, it shows that on the east side, the sidewalk goes out to the south along the eastern edge of Filing 3. Is that correct? And does Filing 3, where does that path lead to?
Thank you for your question. I'm reviewing the applicant's slide presentation to verify that, and that review comes more thoroughly with the site plan review, which would be after the plating process is complete. But you're talking the south connection to Filing 3?
Yeah, which I believe are sidewalks.
Yeah, that is correct. That's connecting to an existing sidewalk or system.
And does that go all the way south to the park then? Perfect, that's
Yes.
exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. Commissioner Popkin.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple final questions from my end here on the topics of sustainability and resilience. So whomever from the applicant team is best positioned to answer those would be fantastic. This might seem like a tangent, but it's not. Is markelhomes.com your main website?
Yes.
Excellent. Then I'm just going to quote directly from, I believe, your homepage here, where it says, "We support sustainable living practices by creating communities with access to trails and open space, mountain views, nearby shops, restaurants, and services, and our true design philosophy drives us to build homes with a robust list of included features from interior comforts to energy-saving technology. We are committed to healthy homes and believe our new homes should be built to the highest standards of health and superior air quality with a large emphasis on sustainability. Y'all stand by that?
Yeah, we actually just won the DOE Indoor Air Quality Leadership of the Year award. So, yeah, we actually
And for those,
stand
including
behind all
myself,
of
who are not familiar with what that is, can you just enlighten us briefly?
Yeah, so Energy Star, Indoor Air Plus, these are all certifications that you get as you construct your home or plan on constructing your home. And then as you construct it, you have, inspections that verify all these things. And then at the end, all these certifications get kind of passed to the homeowner, and they are entitled to rebates and tax credits and all these different things. But we are U.S. Like LEEDs, if you're familiar with LEEDs, we just got the leadership award last year for the whole region.
That's from the Green Building Council?
Yep, U.S. Green
USGC.
Building Council, and so all single-family homes that we do are LEED rated. They're Energy Star rated. They're DOE Zero Energy rated, which is a really hard qualification to meet. And
So
so
you say zero energy? rated?
Zero Energy Ready. So it's a new program that piggybacks onto Energy Star, but it's Zero Energy Ready. So basically, our homes are all built and slated to one solar system will make them, net zero. And so these are all, we have single family kind of requirements and multifamily requirements. So, depending on the, type of building, we have different classifications that we follow.
That's great.
But-
And is that a premium product, or is that kind of commercially viable, market affordable? I mean, it sounds like you're building affordable and attainable housing left and right, so it sounds like that fits into your ethos.
Yeah, we sort of break it up between single family and multifamily. Once you have party walls, it gets a little, trickier to sort of get your, air changes per hour down to a manageable level for some of this. But we all are Energy Star on all of our products. And then now we are indoor air certified for all of our products, single family and multifamily.
Great. And so I'm going to assume from that, but please correct me if I'm wrong, that if you are zero energy ready homes, that means these are not mixed fuel properties?
No, you can be zero energy ready and be mixed fuel. You don't have to be, electrified to
Interesting.
be zero energy. You just have to offset your usage with a solar system.
I see. It's about the net offset overall on the property.
Exactly.
Got it. So you're having built in Longmont before in the greater Boulder County area, you may be familiar with Longmont's beneficial building electrification vision and plan. Just curious, have you given any thought? I mean, I know this is the concept plan stage. But utilities start to come into play pretty soon. As you think about this, have you given any thought as to whether these will be all electric, high efficient homes, or if the jury's still out there?
We're doing some discovery homes right now on electrification. I think multifamily wise, it's a little harder proposition on certain things, but I think we'll sort of follow code. I mean, certain municipalities we're building in are going full electrification. Certain municipalities we're building in are going full net zero, and so we just sort of have to sort of take it as it comes. But yeah, we're always sort of innovating and sort of leading the crowd, I feel like, as far as sustainability. And so yeah, if we're if that comes down the pipe with a code adoption, we're happy to build to that.
Understood. And then related, a space that developers often don't think about, but it sounds like you guys are not like most developers, is the rooftop space. And I'm curious, having developed and seen the build out of Prospect and other neighborhoods, how do you think about the use of rooftop space, not only getting at solar here, but just the use of that as really another story in some cases?
Yeah, rooftops get a little tricky. To access your rooftop, you sort of have a penthouse, accessibility area, and I think as the, codes are drafted, that sort of dings you on a max height calculation. And so, to access a rooftop, is almost like having another story, except if it can be, a modification or, something can sort of let you access that without having to account for the max height.
Got it. So that comes into play more when you're dealing with jurisdictions that have a height restriction or limit
Yeah.
for that area or for that site or for
For
the
that,
entire
yeah.
municipality.
Yeah.
Great. Don, Jeremy, Kristen, I don't believe we have that, right? We don't have a max height for any residential buildings, or do we?
We do in the RMN zone, the
Okay.
maximum building height is 35 feet.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and so with 3-story, apartments and condos, that becomes pretty tough to have those.
To have that as an actual accessible story, green roof, solar doesn't run into those kinds of issues in the same way.
Yeah, because if you think about a roof line, if you wanted to have a flat spot and access it, that's like another 8-foot
Right.
appurtenance.
Okay. Great. One of the other things that you're really fortunate about with this property is that when we get to transportation, Nelson Road to the north has bike lanes already there. Fantastic. I believe the Mountain View also has bike lanes on it. And I believe, is it Clover Basin that goes kind of a little bit further south of the property, but basically in parallel to Nelson, also has bike lanes that connect over to Airport Road and the rest of the city.
Yep.
I have a question for you on this, which is the Boulder County Fairgrounds is kind of a good neutral hub, so I wanted to just throw this into Google Maps for a second. Do you have any sense of how long it would take to take public transportation from your property to the Boulder County Fairgrounds? I'm not trying to stump you here.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
And it's about 45 minutes, at least according to Google Maps, for
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow morning. Do you have any sense of how long it would take to bike there?
I'll go with 15.
16 minutes, at least according to Google, so you seem like you bike faster. That's great. This to me suggests, that's a major difference, right? And so this seems like a real opportunity for you all to consider, multimodal transportation is a very broad way of saying just not only cars. And with higher density, I guess, so how are you thinking about your site integrating with that existing bike infrastructure? What are you thinking about on site? What have you done in similar properties in similar situations?
Yeah, that's a good question. We definitely really love this, location because it does seem like a nice hub because there's a lot of sort of new, kind of progressive multimodal, access points everywhere. And so, I think with, what we've been doing elsewhere, we've been sort of looking into, obviously not just bike racks, but maybe some charging stations and things like that, because we know that there's a lot of, electrified everything these days, whether it's scooters or bikes and zip cars and whatnot. But yeah, I think we would like to, explore, with our apartments and, probably some sort of enhanced, bike racks and, sometimes in our storage inside those areas, we have, bike repair shops, we have, little areas for charging, and storage, with electrical, outlets for charging, bikes and stuff like that.
Great. That's great to hear. I know that's not, exactly what we're looking at for today, but, as this moves forward with design, that seems like it would really fit in and perhaps address some, to the extent that there are traffic concerns of, the increase in units, which I don't share those concerns, but to the extent some people feel like that, in an increasingly dense, suburban environment there, that seems like that would make sense and be a very logical, addition to this concept as it moves forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Great.
All right.
I think with that, I have no further concerns. I have no further questions. The density seems to make sense for this area. There's a lot of infrastructure. It sounds like the developer and applicant are taking seriously. The shift in residential units makes sense in the area. It seems appropriate for the city's need in housing. So I will be supportive of this.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldberg.
Thanks, Chairman. I think with that, I'm inclined to put a motion forward. But real quick, Kristen, noting the maximum height of 35 feet in the RMN district, does that increase if there's affordable housing on site?
They have provided 20% affordable housing, and they did get a reduction in some lot sizes and also, but I don't believe, they have not requested that, and I don't, and some density increases, but I don't believe, I would defer that to to Dawn.
Yeah.
In regards to that response.
Don, isn't that one of the perks for affordable housing, or one of the incentives towards building affordable housing is an increase in, maybe to get one more story?
It is.
There was some concern,
But
yes.
because of the concerns with compatibility,
Sure.
the council limited that the RMN does not get that.
Oh, the RMN does not get that.
That's correct.
What zone does get that?
Joanne?
That seems like a good zone to put it in.
I actually pulled it up as a plug for affordable housing, but it's multifamily, mixed-use neighborhood, mixed-use commercial, mixed-use downtown, mixed-use employment, and mixed-use residential.
I'm picturing that neighborhood with that giant school to the east of it and nothing to the west of it. Boy, what a neat place that would be to add another story and get a couple more affordable housing units. Bummer. Okay, maybe just food for thought. With that, Jeremy, I'm not sure exactly what to do. I was going to put a motion forward that recognizes that the commission recognized and confirmed that the applicant met the posting requirement, and then proceed with my resolution. Is that appropriate, or do I need to recognize it at all?
You don't need to recognize it,
Okay.
Commissioner Goldberg. It's already included in,
It's been added.
it hasn't been added. It was in there to begin with.
Okay, cool. Okay, well then, I'll not overdo it. Then I'll just go ahead and recommend approval of PZR 2023-10A.
Thank you. We have a motion. Commissioner Height, were you going to second that, or did you have more questions?
No, I wanted to propose it, but I will second it.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other questions, comments? If not, Jane, let's go ahead and take our vote.
Commissioner Height,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Aye. Yes.
Chairman Poland,
Yes.
Commissioner Boone,
Yes.
Commissioner Popkin. Chairman, that passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. This item now enters a 7-day appeal period. During this time, any aggrieved party may appeal the commission's decision by submitting a written appeal letter stating why the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision should be amended or reversed by City Council. All appeals must be in writing and must be received in the City Clerk's office and the Planning Office within the 7-day appeal period. The appeal period begins Thursday, October 19th at 8 a.m. and ends Wednesday, October 25th at 5 p.m. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, applicant. And then I guess we can go ahead and move to the next agenda item, which is final call public invited to be heard. Jane, we had nobody, seeing nobody in the public in the audience. I'll go ahead and close out the final call public invited to be heard. Next is items from the commission. Commissioner Popkin.
Thank you, Chair. One question for Dan, Kristen, or Jeremy, and if you can't answer this, that's okay, because we have a slightly different roster of planning staff than we did when we had a lively discussion about environmental site assessments at our last meeting. I was just curious if there was follow-up yet from staff in looking at the last proposal for ESA compliance. We ran into 2 different environmental site assessments, and I don't think it's inappropriate to ask this now, just if there's been an update on review there.
Chairman Poland, Commissioner Popkin, I do have an email from Jennifer who, while she's on vacation, forwarded me the information. So the city hired a third party to actually review because of the concern from the commission, so that we could provide that information to the city council because of the amount of discussion. My quick review of that, and I think we can forward that report to you to look at, was that there were some questions in the way the analysis was done, which I think is similar to what we heard from the applicants environmental person who was there, or maybe it was even the developer, but there was someone who stated that there was some flaws in the work that had been done by the original consultant. It appears that our third-party person agreed with the methodology and findings of that, and that they believe that there was some information that was not either provided or explained to confirm the finding. So from their analysis, they believe that those were within, I think they said, while elevated, were still not of a concern from their review of the documentation. And unless there's a reason that we can't send that to you, we could forward that to the commission so you could take a look at that third party. But again, the city hired, paid for, and did that to make sure that not only did our staff not find anything, but someone else who has no skin in the game came up with the same decision.
That's great. Appreciate that. Yeah, no rush on getting that. I would be interested in seeing that documentation, but again, no rush.
Okay.
Just for the public's awareness on this, did the developer or applicant from that have any say or role in selecting who was doing that analysis?
No, so for the public and everybody just to understand how our on-call list works is that it varies, but it's between like every 3 and 5 years, the city puts out a request for basically people to put proposals forward to work for the city on a contract. And so the people that are on that contract have been on there for years.
Yeah.
And they have been interviewed, vetted, chosen by typically an interview panel that's made up of people that are familiar with the type of work we're going to ask those people to do. And then purchasing handles all the contracts. Whenever we decide that we need to use a third party, we go out to that list, we call them up, we say, this is what we need, can you do that? If they cannot, we go down to the next person. We usually have a couple of people to choose from. And so that's kind of the way that works.
That's great. And so you basically have a short list of selected qualified environmental professionals on hand.
Correct.
And those were all pre-selected prior to any applicant's proposal or any independent of that entirely.
Most definitely, most definitely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and just so that everybody understands too, is that, let's say that as we're building the bridge across the St. Vrain, if we run into a problem and dig up something, we want someone on call that's an expert that we can have get out there immediately to help us and make sure that they document that what we've done is correct and handled appropriately. So it's a protection for the city as well. So again, to your point, the applicant had no say in who it was. It was already chosen years ago, the last time that contract was issued.
Perfect. Appreciate you sharing the process. It sounds perfectly by the book there. And I just ask because it's really important, especially as we have more brownfield sites that are going to potentially come to this commission and to the public for redevelopment. Those could be fantastic sites and probably will be for the future of Envision Longmont and the city. And it's just important that people have confidence in the health and safety of those sites. So, thank you.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Popkin, for asking. I think that was exactly the intention of the motion that we added to that, and I'm glad that city staff, in the end, and with the contractor, were able to align on moving forward. That's great. Really wonderful news. Don, can we just revisit where that extra level for affordable housing is permitted? You read a couple of the different zones. Residential mixed neighborhood certainly seems like a neat place to put it, but it wasn't on your list. What is? I might
So
follow up
afford-
with a why not.
Affordable housing, these are exceptions to the house, to the height limits.
Yes.
So for affordable housing, single-family attached, multifamily, or mixed-use developments, okay? In the RMF, the multifamily zoning district, the MUN, the mixed-use neighborhood zoning, the MUC, the mixed-use commercial zoning, typically Main Street north of 9th Avenue, Main Street south of Boston, or not Boston, the new road down there at the park, by Dickens Farm. mixed use downtown, so everything in between those two Main Street corridors.
Sure.
Mixed use employment, so that would typically be the items like the information that we've seen, those are secondary uses typically.
Sure.
And then the mixed use residential, or yeah, mixed use regional, so think of our, the Walmarts, the hospital, the mall. So, okay, those districts as long as they include at least 12% affordable rental housing or affordable owner housing, are eligible up to 1 additional story or 15 additional feet, because some of our zoning districts give stories, not feet for height, maximum height, and others have feet for
sure.
maximum.
Sure.
Okay. And then otherwise allowed, so basically, that's what they're saying. So those zoning districts, like mixed use, the RMN,
Yeah.
are not one that is called out either as the RSF, the single-family zoning district.
I think for fear of it not being compatible, you might have said that earlier, for fear of, it just standing out amongst a bunch of other like normal single-family detached homes.
Correct. And the council also, when they had concerns expressed by the historic East Side neighborhood about 7, maybe 8 years ago, there was a proposal by the Chamber of Commerce to take down their building just north of us here by the church, at the corner of 4th and Kimbark, but just north of that church, on the east side of Kimbark. That neighborhood expressed concern about a transition, of that building 4 stories looking over into single-family backyards has an impact.
Definitely.
And so the council then set up this ratio of the further you are away, the higher you're allowed to go. Otherwise, it has to step down as you get closer to single family.
Sure.
And that's an exclusion. So in the central business district, the mixed use downtown area, they would be subject to those restrictions if they are within 150 feet of a residential single family or a residential mixed neighborhood
Sure.
zoned property.
Sounds like there's a lot of red tape around this
A lot.
incentive.
A
That's
lot.
That's a bummer. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any others? Okay, items from planning manager Don Burchett.
I'll take the promotion if you can give it to me. But, yeah, manager, but thank you, Chair Poland. We had a couple things real quick to give you updates on. Jane, I think, sent out an email today. Transportation Planning Manager Phil Greenwald is working on his transportation mobility plan. They are looking for people to volunteer. He is going to be having one person be a designated person on the, I think is it his, they usually have a fancy acronym for the name of the committee. But anyway, he needs someone on that committee as a representative from the commission, and then he wants an alternate. He would ask that if you are interested, or if you have questions, obviously reach out to him, but if you are interested and want to email back to him, if you could do that by tomorrow, end of day, or before Thursday morning, because he needs to start moving forward on a decision and getting everything done so that that committee can get ready to meet soon. So there is some time constraints on that. I'll be honest with you.
It was in the email.
Is it in there?
It was
Okay,
in the
yeah.
email.
I didn't get copied on the email, so sorry. That's okay. It's all right. I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming him. All right. It's Planning and Zoning Commission interview time. And I guess we have a couple of candidates that have submitted. And according to talking with Jane and with Glenn, they plan to do those virtually. And they plan to do those on the November meeting date. Right now, as of today, we have nothing for November. So we want to use that meeting date. We will be able to confirm that for you next week after we have our staff meeting Tuesday.
Okay.
As of staff meeting this week, there was nothing ready, nothing expected to go. I don't expect that to change, but I need to talk to Jennifer, who's on vacation.
Is
confirm. Yes.
And do you anticipate anything for December?
Currently, no. So right now, we're looking like November and December. We would not have any projects. Are you aware of anything else that Glenn was gonna bring? Okay. So, but be ready for next year, because it's gonna be fun and exciting and a lot of stuff coming right at you, so. And then I was asked earlier, last but not least, told you it was gonna be the very last thing. I wanted to just give you an update in case you weren't following it. Bond Farm went to the city council, and the council approved it 4-3. There was a condition on the property that it could not provide any more than 63 units on the property, and that was 4-3 with Mayor Peck, Councilmember Martin, and Councilmember Waters voting no.
But did they vote no because they didn't want the 63 limit?
I probably would be speculating why they voted no. It might be
Okay.
best to ask them.
Okay.
Can you share what the council's intention? The applicant was requesting 65 units. They said no more than 63. What was the intention behind that?
So my understanding in general was that there was a negotiation discussion with one of the city council members who was trying to find a compromise. And it appears that the developer made a statement that 63 would work. This is all secondhand, so
Yeah, my
hearsay, right?
We were presented with 70 in a Times Call article this week. It said 65. It said that they had come with 65, and then when they agreed on 63, I was like, that's a weird number.
They come with, I watched the meeting, just out of curiosity. They had come, the developer had still come with for 70 in that discussion that Don is referencing. Basically acknowledged, it sounded like, that the developer didn't think he was likely that he would exceed 63, and that's where that number came from, just for those who are interested. And that's where the condition came from. I will not offer any commentary on that further, just so how that process.
Okay.
And that is all that I have for you. Thank you. It
That
was
is all
great
you
seeing
have
you
for
guys.
us, and that means we are in adjournment.